Let's talk about this Spotify thing. I think it's very interesting what's happening right now. I think Spotify's fucking up. I think Daniel Ek has no idea what's going on. I think he's completely disconnected. He's worth $5 billion. I can't speak for all musicians, but I'm sure a lot of us feel the same way. Like, every month I gotta worry about, paying mortgage and making sure my kids can eat and all that stuff, right? Now, I have a lot of other streams of revenue that helps me pay the bills and such. And then my band, we have a salary, but the band's salary doesn't take care of everything. Like, we do well, but it's we run a business here and there's a lot to pay for, so I got to supplement it with different things like YouTube and streaming and my side project stuff, music, solo music. When I work with other bands, I produce, my acoustic performances, things like that. So we're not yet at a point where the band is strictly taking care of all the bills and the rest is gravy, right? I'm always looking for work on the side. Daniel Ek's like, oh, yeah, with the cost of content creation being near zero, it's like, what are you talking about? All this stuff, the gear that we use to record, the gear that we use to make videos, because, we all know now that if you're a little band or an independent band, you gotta make content, you gotta make videos, and put them on the internet, TikTok and IG and all that, if you want to get the word out, right? And labels these days, even major labels, they're having their artists try to get a viral TikTok video. It's like what kind of marketing plan is that? Like, why are you taking probably half or more than half of the money from these bands if you're not going to do the work anymore? Like, what is the point of being on a label? Like, I've always said that, like, we would definitely have a conversation if a major label came along, if like Interscope or Atlantic or somebody came along and was like, hey, we want to talk to you about your music and signing and stuff. I would definitely have the conversation, because why not, right? If that's all you're going to do, what is the point? So, sorry, I'm getting off, but back to Daniel Ek and Spotify. It's already starting. I think you can have a lot of artists start creating their own platforms or releasing on Bandcamp or SoundCloud, basically hosting their own releases and selling direct to their fans. I think you're gonna have direct to consumer, and you can have a lot of artists either leaving Spotify entirely or dropping their albums early, like months early, and then later dropping everything on Spotify, like to the rest of the world, right? Here's what I think is gonna happen. I think there's a lot of people that are broke and they pay for Spotify because, who can't live without music, right? But I think there's a lot of people who won't, pay another $10 a month or whatever it is, or pay like per release for your record when it drops. They'll just go listen to it on Spotify for that, 15, $20 a month, like whatever it is now. They just raise the prices. I think that is still gonna exist. So I think completely leaving streaming, it might not be the best move, right, for a lot of bands, because I think that, you still should use the algorithms and use those streaming platforms as a way to help spread the word. But I think most importantly, which is what I've been saying for a long time, is that most importantly, you need to get your super fans. You need to keep growing your community, right? And that just means over-delivering, serving them, giving them as much content as possible, doing VIP meet and greets at your shows, getting to know your fan base. Do live streams, where you play music, you're just chatting live. I do this stuff every week, and I try to make myself available to the people listening to our music and supporting. You should really focus on growing your online store with doing special drops, like online only, stuff like that. I had a musician friend ask me last week, do you think dropping a new shirt or something at the merch table at the shows only is a good strategy to get people to come out and buy tickets? And I told him, in my opinion, I think that doing hey, you can only get this shirt if you come to our show, I don't think that's gonna sell tickets. I think it will sell a few tickets, but I don't think it's gonna increase tickets, because people don't go to shows because they already have something going on, or they just can't afford it, doesn't work in their budget. They've already made their mind up about the show. So selling a special t-shirt at the show, I don't think that's really gonna do a whole lot. You might sell a few tickets for sure, but overall, I think it's better to definitely, have great merch on the road, but do like awesome, like dope drops, like monthly or bi-monthly to your fans. and really get those numbers up on the store. I think a lot of people are used to buying online nowadays, and if you do a few sales and things get to them safely and everything's the right size and they're the right quantities and stuff that they ordered, I think you build that trust and they're more likely to, click and buy next time you drop something. So it's all about growing the fan base, right? That's what you want to do. Grow the fan base so that anything you do, they're going to support you. Make it so they trust you, make it so they like you. Give all of your personality out there and let people know who you are. I think that's where we are as independent artists these days. When we don't have that giant machine behind us, all the labels, like all the money and all the resources and relationships that these guys have, if and when they want to use that stuff, which is not guaranteed, by the way. You can get signed and they won't do anything with your record. They won't do any. I mean, I've heard stories about how they'll just shelve an entire record for a year or more until you get so many followers on TikTok or get so many views on TikTok. Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Don't give away your money, guys. Keep your money, spend your money more wisely on things to market yourself to your fans, right? Focus on building your community, building your catalog. This is what's gonna help if and when you decide that you want to release on your own aside from Spotify, right? So if you think about it, it's not reinventing the wheel. This is nothing new, right? CDs, we had CDs for years, decades, and we would sell CDs on CD Baby, right? We'd sell CDs at the shows. Now, people aren't buying CDs anymore, but what I'm saying is you can sell a digital record on your own website, host it on Squarespace or Wix or whatever, right? Use SoundCloud, use Bandcamp, get those download credits, things like that. What I'm thinking is, for the next Ballyhoo record, what if we released the album, our 10th album? You do all the hype, you do all the marketing like you would normally, right? But you release the album 2 months early, not a month, 2 months early. 2 months before it goes on Spotify and all the other streaming platforms, right? Your biggest fans are gonna wanna hear the songs, right? Also, they're gonna wanna support you because you've built this trust with them over the years. This takes years, guys, by the way. This takes a long time. Don't get discouraged. I've been doing this a very long time. My band is gonna be 30 years old next year. And we're still out there crushing it, man. I promise. It does work. You just have to stay on top of it. And it's really easy to go into a dark place and get all bummed out on yourself. I've been there so many times. It sucks. It still happens, But you got to stick with it. Again, I digress. When it comes time to drop that new record and you've built all this trust and you've got this community that loves you and just follows you wherever you go into the midst of Avalon, right? You're going to say, all right, everybody, new album dropping on Bandcamp, dropping on our website exclusively August 1st or whatever, pick a date. Maybe don't even mention that it's gonna drop on Spotify or anywhere else, right? Or you could be up front and honest. This is where my mind is all over the place. I always go back and forth. I'm a Libra. You could say dropping on Bandcamp, dropping on our website, dropping on SoundCloud, August 1st, everywhere else, October 1st, right? See what that sounds? That's only 2 months, but it sounds like forever. So your fans gonna be like, oh shit, yeah, I wanna get this way early and I wanna support these guys. And you could say $10, you could say $15, you could say pay what you want, Like, I know Bandcamp lets you do that. It says let fans pay what they want. Sometimes you get $20, Sometimes people throw $100 at you. It just depends. You're taking the power back. You're taking your business back into your own hands, right? I think we're just at a point where you've got these disconnected billionaires running these companies, making all their money off of our art, off of our work, off of our sacrifices, our blood, sweat, tears, everything. There's a lot of time that I've missed with my family to make music, to keep my career going. And I've always been a big picture person, but I'm kind of tired of looking at the big picture these days. I'm kind of tired of it. I feel like we've earned the right to make money off of our work, right? Off of our art. And I've always looked at things from that big picture perspective. Like, all right, the music is just an expensive business card that we throw out to the fans to get them to come to the shows, which is not untrue. It's definitely an expensive, because it takes money, Daniel Ek. It takes money and time. There's a human cost to all this, to make music, to make records. But at the end of the day, it's always been that business card that gets people to come to the shows, buy a t-shirt, hopefully become a lifelong fan. Because we're trying to build lifers here, guys, ride or dies, right? So I think that's super important. So I'm making the case for taking our business back, taking our art back, having algorithms and things. I've always championed Spotify for, pushing the music to new people and things like that. That is wonderful. Being on playlists and things has certainly helped the band get more attention, right? So that's why I'm saying to not completely discount it, but I'm just saying take the power back. On release day, on release week, you can make more money than you would in 2 years of streaming right away. You know what I mean? Which means, and nobody's getting rich, guys. Nobody's getting rich off of this money. We're talking about being able to take this money and pay ourselves a little something to pay the bills, pay the mortgage, but also to put back into the business. You should always be taking the money you make from the business and put it back into the business, right? And then you take a little owner draw or salary, whatever you want to call it, right? Be smart about that. Don't take too much. But I think we're at a point where you're going to see artists start to take the power back. And these fucking CEOs, bro, that have no idea what it takes to do what we do, eventually they're going to see. There's going to be another platform that comes along that probably is going to take the same exact idea, Again, bro, this isn't new. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're selling records out of the trunk again, digitally, right? That's all this is. I think it's very possible that you see Ballyhoo go in this direction. I thought about, what if we create our own subscription service, but then I'm like, who wants another subscription, right? But why can't we go back to just paying per release like we did with CDs and like we did with iTunes downloads 20 years ago? Why can't we sell a record for $10? I know that our ride or dies, our lifers, our super fans will pay $10 to support because, as I said, over the years, you've shown them what it's like to be on the road, missing family events, stuck in the studio, like working on things, and doing it because you love it, not because you have to. You're doing it because you love it, So I think people see that and they want to support. You guys have no idea like how much people want to support your band. You know what I mean? You just got to show them. You got to show them why. When your music is affecting people in an emotional way, when it hits their heart, And this is something that I never even considered when I started my band when I was a kid. Never thought that people would be using our music at their weddings or, graduations or, sitting at the beach, or by the pool. Like, I never even thought that would be a thing. I just knew that I wanted to, be in a badass band that people loved and we could go on tour and see the world. That's what I always thought. This whole emotional connection that we've created with our fan base has been insane and fucking awesome. I really think that the support is there, and if you're just starting out, it can be there for you too. You just have to work it. You need to build it, and it's very important that you keep making videos and you keep live streaming and playing shows and making sure you're putting on the best show possible and putting your best foot forward as far as writing songs. I'm not, definitely don't spit out songs just to grow your catalog. Make sure the song is good. Make sure it's satisfactory. Make sure that it's what you want it to be. Spend some time with it. When I make a record, when I make a song, I sit there and obsess over it for hours, days, months, sometimes years before we release it, because I want it to be the best it can be. I don't want something to come out and be like, oh man, I wish I would have done that. Because I have those records. Those records are in the past. I didn't know how to record. I didn't know how to do things back then, and like, you just did it and it was fun and like, wow, that's great. We sound so cool on CD, Nowadays, I spend time with my shit and I make sure it's exactly how I want it to be. Now that said, perfectionist, it's never perfect, right? It's never exactly 100% the way you want it, but I still find stuff that we did last year on the Shell Shock record. I wish I would have fixed that, but there's a lot less of it, that's what I'm saying. So I know this is kind of a rant, I'm kind of going off here, but different things, but ultimately, I think we're gonna see a lot of artists start selling their records direct to consumer again, and we can still utilize the streaming platforms maybe later on and get those algorithm plays and maybe some playlisting, things like that. But the other thing too I was thinking was like, even after you sell the record, when the record drops on the platforms, 2 months later or whatever, you just encourage your fans, hey guys, I know you guys bought the record 2 months ago. Thank you so much for that. We would love it if you guys would stream the shit out of it as well when it drops in 2 months. Like, you know what I mean? There's ways to do it, and I think I think this is the way, man. I've been watching some videos. I've seen some other artists talking about this stuff. I can feel it whenever you get guys like Daniel Ek talking shit like this and they just completely insanity. It drives you further to these conclusions. You know what I mean? So that's what I think is going to happen. Anyway, like and subscribe. Buy me a coffee if you want. Links down below. Check out Ballyhoo sometime.
Oh, I did it again. I made it